Rogers. I'm the president of the Board of Education. I just want to welcome you here tonight. The board is so happy to have you here, and the administration. We're so happy to have you engaged in this process. We want you to know how important you are to this process. We are doing this for real with the public, and we really want the public to come up with the final outcome. And it's really important that you understand that. There is no plan that we come up with. It's not the board's plan. It's not the administration's plan. It's our plan right here and now. And I think that's important for us to understand tonight as we go forward. My board members are here. I have Robin Stella, my vice president. Where is she? And chair of curriculum. So if you have any questions about curriculum, Nick DeFranco and Deborah Wright and John Little. They're my strategic planning committee, and they do a wonderful job. Thank you guys. Mike Donlin is here, and I think I saw Joe Minimes as well. So we're going to be milling about, but we're not going to join any of the tables with you because we don't want to be pushing this forward. This is truly a community experience. But if you need anything, just give us a holler. We can come in there and give you a fact here and there, or direct you to a place on the website where you can find out what you need to know. All right, and now I'll ask Dr. George to come up.
Really here to listen to you, so I don't have a lot to say. Thank you to everyone for showing up. Thank you for our teachers and our administrators and everyone in the school community that's come here tonight to participate. As you know, Dave Hesby reminded me tonight that, hey, this is our fourth public forum, so we're really excited to have this next opportunity to hear from our community and to review all the latest data. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hesby.
Good evening, everyone. This is a great turnout for the second phase of our strategic planning process. So I thank everyone for being here. Just know that I'm going to be asking everyone to try to get into groups of eight people, and think about the groups like an eclectic cocktail party. We want a whole bunch of different people at the table. So if you're all there with teachers, if you could spread out to other tables. If you're all there for parents of a high school, kind of move to some other table. So every group gets the benefit of different perspectives. So just think about that. We're gonna be spending some time on finishing the data. We're gonna go through all the survey responses, and I think you're gonna be really pleased with the degree of responses that we did receive. And hopefully you're following along with me. I'm just rolling through the agenda here. We're then getting into the nuts and bolts of strategic planning. So, as you know, every strategic planning process starts with revisiting the district's mission and beliefs. You have district-wide mission and beliefs. You also have, every school has its own mission and beliefs. As you come in, you see South's mission and belief statement. So we're going to revisit that. And then we're going to take the last part of the evening and try to get something else to review about the high-level priorities you have for the district. What are those high-level priorities? What are the non-negotiables that will then be used in Forum 3 in the middle of December to develop those strategic goals that we want to form the basis of the district's strategic plan. So that's the evening. We've got a lot involved tonight, so we're going to try to get right into the presentations. I'm looking around. I think the groups are good. I think we're pretty good with the groups. So nicely done. We're going to have to, each group is going to need two of our sheets of paper, some markers, but we'll distribute those as the night goes on to all of you in the farther reaches of the cafeteria. Right, let's go right into Thank you, Stacy. So tonight we're Schoolhouse. First three forums will facilitate these forums. Stacy on my right Lynn and Dave will be doing a lot of wandering around the room. Feel free to seek us out if you have any questions on anything we're going to be presenting. We welcome it. We always stay after if you want to corral us. Some of you have been emailing us. Feel free to do that as well. All right, so first things first, I don't know how many of you were at the first forum, but I want to go through very quickly the strategic planning process. What are we trying to accomplish? I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Again, this is all on the district strategic planning website. Almost everything that we present to you, the minutes from the forums, the survey data, all of that's going to be on that strategic planning website. If you haven't visited it, you should. You can get there right from the district's homepage, and you're going to start seeing a tremendous amount of information there. Strategic planning, it's an improvement process. It's a change process that's guided by a tremendous amount of information. It's guided by your perspectives. And we try to develop a common understanding. So it's a way for the community, that one Middletown, to come together and say, this is what we want for our schools, and here's how we're going to get there. I'm just going to keep rolling. The benefits, again, there are many. We spent a lot of time at Forum 1 discussing the benefits of strategic planning, but ultimately it's a way for you, stakeholders, parents, teachers, community members, to come and bring your expertise, bring your thoughts, and share them with your fellow Middletowners. I'm not sure what you consider to be that overall citizen name for yourselves, but whichever one it is, we want that perspective as we move forward. It is a data-driven process, so we are asking questions that we're going to be looking for answers to, and you're seeing some of these questions we're going to be asking tonight. Basically, three parts of the process. First, we want to aspire. What's our aspiration for our children in our school system? Next, we want to set what's our improvement strategy. We know what we're going to aspire to, but aspirations get us nowhere. We need strategies to achieve those aspirations. And then the third phase, we want to hold ourselves accountable for achieving those goals and objectives by establishing timelines and actions and metrics. And that's this three-part process I'm going to discuss with you now. The first part is gathering as much data and information as we can about the district, and then gathering as much information about what you, the parents, what you, the teachers, what you, the community members, think. And then share that so everyone has this common understanding, this common foundation to start participating in the strategic planning process. One of the problems that I've always encountered, and certainly when I was a professor, I did a lot of this, was normally we get our information from the people we hang with, right? Or the people we hang together, that's where we get most of our information about a community. But that also lends itself to tunnel vision, because we don't necessarily know what folks outside of our group, outside of our particular friend group or colleague group thinks and says. And so gathering all this data and collecting survey responses, which we're going to present in just a moment, provides that opportunity to get past any prospect of tunnel vision. We all have the data, we've surfaced all the perspectives we need, now we have everything, all that information that we can have a meaningful planning process. So phase one ends with our presentation to you tonight of the survey data, and then we have the I think we're step two. Step two. So we're going to be at, if you go to Disneyland, there's always a little spot, you are here. So we're at the second forum. That's where we are, where we develop that vision, mission, and values. Then the third forum, we develop those strategic initiatives, 6 to 10 tops. And as I indicated, we're already through with the survey. And then the third step in the process is that accountability step, where we're going to have a committee developed that's going to take those 6 to 10 strategic initiatives and put metrics around them, put timelines, prioritize, muster resources, so that we can then have a plan that we can hold ourselves accountable for through tracking, annual review, and updates. So that's a quick overview of where we are, where we're going. The next 2 forums are just critical, and we're just very happy that we have such a large group in Forum 2. What you normally see in my strategic planning world is lots of people come out for Forum 1, and then Forum 2, you have a lot less people, and Forum 3, even fewer. But I think we have more people here for Forum 2 than we had for Forum 1, which is just tremendous, and I congratulate all of you on that. So the next step is we're going to look at the survey data. So just as a prelude here for you, normally if you get 300-400 survey responses, people responding, 300 to 400, you normally feel good about that. And take a guess at how many we got. Valuable prizes will be given. Take a guess. No one wants to venture. It's all right. Well, I guess I'll win the prize tonight. The keys to the Jeep are mine. 2,700 responses. 2,700. That's amazing, and it just gives me a great thrill that the community is very much engaged in this process. And that is the ultimate, that you see a community heavily engaged by coming to the forums, by completing the surveys. And so congratulations to you. And now we're going to look at these surveys, and I think you should have great confidence that this gives you a sense of what the Middletown community thinks. First, let me give you some sense from Forum 1. We're going to have minutes from the forums. They'll be, again, on that website as well. But just a summary of that, lots of positive feedback from the folks who took to the mic. Pleased with the schools, very much with the teaching staff, like a small town community feeling in the schools. So very positive comments overall about the schools. Thanks. Individual issues, and we're going to break out some individual issues that came up. A number of folks wanted to talk about the programs and services for kids with IDEA plans. Inclusion was a very big issue. More programs at neighborhood schools. Dyslexia and serving children with dyslexia was also a common input. Wanted to improve the process, improve communication. Doing so would help control some costs. And also asking the district to think ahead as this population continues to grow. Spatialization was another very big theme. Many indicated they want to keep class sizes low. We'll see this on the survey data as well. More space for the special programs, art, music, media. Questions about space utilization in the schools, whether analysis has been done. A second issue related to space was concerns with enrollment declines and whether and how the district should respond to the enrollment declines. First number of folks who came to the microphone said, let's make certain we have the data we need and that data is accurate and is current, that we have cost analysis for the existing schools, which we'll be discussing tonight a little bit more. Some other issues coming up, again, smaller classes, again, more specials. There was opposition to grade banding, more time for kids to be kids, balancing technology, keyboarding and technology, career exploration. We'll actually see this in the survey as well, an interesting thought there about career exploration and the need to expand those programs. address any north-south stigma in the community. School safety came up a number of times, allow the community more involved in the budget, and make certain that transportation issues are examined closely, especially with any redistricting. All right, so that's a Forum 1 recap. Again, we're going to have minutes, and those will be available to you. But again, wanting you to have all the information we have. That's our policy. If we get it, you get it. So on that theme, let's go to the multiple choice survey data. First thing we always want to do is make certain that we have a cross-section of the community that's responding. We want to make certain that there's no marginalized groups. And so we always want to look at the percentages to make certain we have significant numbers in all the categories and across the grade levels. And I think we're pretty good in those areas. Challenges. So this is question 3. What challenges should be prioritized? And we have set forth the data in descending order. So if you remember Forum 1 summary, this was a big issue, class size, and this shows up in the survey as well. Concerns with the revenue stream is also a big issue. Clearly people are following the state aid reductions for certain districts like Middletown. That shows up here as well. High qualified teachers and staff, security and safety, student services, and then we are heading into enrollment challenges, improving existing programs, facility challenges, and technology. Question 4 addresses very specifically the state aid reductions, which of course will have a huge impact on your budget. Those are very significant dollars, and the question was how to respond to those. Number 1 response, develop holistic approach, meaning you need to combine all of these various responses, and then increasing the taxes up to the cap, exceeding taxes beyond the cap. Both had an equal number, as well as consider closing under-enrolled schools. All had basically the same number. Enrollment declines, what to do about those separate from the budgetary impact. Number 1 response, 52%, was consider changing attendance zones. Next, consider changing grade levels. Third, develop that holistic approach, combining different of these strategies. 1/4 indicated closing school, and almost 1/5, a little more than 1/5, allowing more students to enroll in low enrollment schools. Question 6, top 5 skills for students. And this is interesting. This is actually, if you love education policy, you see a lot in here. If any of you are going to be writing a master's thesis, this is good stuff for you here. Number 1 was communication skills and problem-solving critical thinking skills, which I thought was very interesting. And then we go down from there. STEM, only 1/3. Technology, even less. Leadership and research skills at the bottom. Challenges facing students. No surprise here. I think we're all concerned. This actually came up in Forum 1, so we're validated here. Negative peer pressure, bullying, mental health issues, too much pressure on kids, and abuse of drugs and alcohol. So all those social issues were very much at the top. And then our lower responses in these next 4. District strengths, student achievement was very high, which is, I think, always good to see. That's responders really did think these schools were succeeding in educating kids. And then we have school facilities, efficient use of funds at a lesser level, technology fairly high. Next slide. The only one where less than 50% agreed it was a strength was vocational and career, number 11 there, which I thought was interesting. That is a statewide conversation that high schools throughout the state are having. And I think it's a good conversation for you to have here as well. And certainly large numbers of responders agreed with that. It's time to have that that statewide conversation here. Continuing down, all of these are above 50. 17, I think, is the closest to half attendance policy and practices. And I think, is that the, okay. So that's the survey data. So our next goal is to start crunching all of the written responses, those 9,000 written responses, and we're going to try to get that up on the website as quickly as possible. But we're coding right now, and the coding I've seen so far, coding just you go through those 9,000 responses and you look for commonalities, and then you calculate the frequency of each one of those commonalities. For example, go through all 9,000, it was like class sizes. And we'll see how many times class sizes appear in those 9,000. And so far, it's very consistent with everything else we've heard in terms of those written responses, but that'll get onto the website very quickly. But that's the good and bad of having 2,700 survey responses. Good is we're very comfortable, we have a good snapshot of the community. Bad, it's a tremendous amount of data that needs to be sorted and then provided to you in a usable way. I don't think anyone has the time to go through 9,000 responses. If you do, by the way, that will be available to you, but we're assuming that you want us to code and give you a frequency, and that's what we're gonna do. Last, before we turn to the group work tonight, is there are some questions from Forum 1. You know, everyone is committed to that transparency. If you ask a question, you want more information, the board and the administration have been very helpful in getting us that information that we can then give to you. So first, you wanted some class size information about the middle and high schools. We have this here for you. Again, this is going to be on the website. Here's Thompson, Thorne, and you'll see on the right-hand column the average class size, so you want to focus on that. You also have the range as well, high school north and high school south. You also asked for some enrollment trends out of district and at the various schools, and we have that on this spreadsheet as well. So you'll see total district enrollment over time. Elementary school by elementary school, we have it bar-coded here for you so you can get some insights pretty quickly. The middle school level, you have Bayshore, Thompson, and Thorne, all laid out for you, color-coded and in bar graphs. And at the high school, and you can certainly see very pronounced here at the high school level for north and south. And you can also see the out-of-district placements, which have moderated over this period of time. Last question we were asked to provide was the cost allocations to the various schools at Forum 1. And so here's the school-based budgets, and you can see for each of the elementary schools, which is that horizontal line at the top, and we'll just rolls through for each of your elementary schools, and you'll have the cost data for them, and we'll also have some notes, and then we'll have also at the secondary level. Yeah, actually, we do have the website for you. We're gonna plop it on the screen for you quickly here. So you have that, if we can get there. It's right here, there we go.
It's hard without a mouse.
Oh, Chris, we've had a failure. Not sure that the Starship Enterprise up there went out. It's still up at, yeah, the fan went, Okay, so we're going to get into the group work. So everyone's ready to work? All right, so we're going to get into the group work. As soon as we have our technology glitch fixed, we can get you a glimpse of the strategic planning website. Great stop just to take a peek at. You can get there through the district's homepage, but I want to turn to the group work. So what we're going to do is just make certain that you are in a group of no more than 8. And also, again, try to make that an eclectic group so you have as much perspectives as you can. And then we're going to come around and by the way, no less than 5, no more than 8. You're looking for a general range. Like I said, I think most of your groups, most of your tables kind of align with that. We're going to make certain that every group has some paper, some markers, so that makes it easier for all of you to report out.
It's been a while. It was like what are we doing here?
So every group, please get 2 pieces of paper and 1 marker, and I'm going to take this on that. Every group takes 2 pieces of paper. All right, here we go. So the next part of our mission, our journey together tonight, is to re-examine the district's current mission statement and its current belief statement. So that's what we're going to do next. And so one of the most difficult concepts in strategic planning is the mission and your values and beliefs. What are those? And by the way, it's very difficult to re-examine any organization's mission and belief statement when that organization's been running for a number of years. But here's the way I always talk about what a mission and a vision is, and they're used interconnected in many ways. But think about your own. You want to start your own business, and a funder comes to you and said, "Hey, I think I might fund you, but I need a couple of questions asked. First, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? How do you know that you're going to be successful? What are you going to do differently than anybody else?" And if you can answer those questions for a funder, they're basically the same exact questions you ask about the mission of Middletown School District. Those are the same questions that we're going to be asking you to think about tonight. And normally, a lot of folks overthink this. Basically, when the schools come into your mind, jot down a couple of things about what you want to say. What do you want your children to leave the schools with? What do you value the most? And so when you are thinking through the mission, and I'm going to put the Middletown mission on the board in just a second, think about it in that context, and I think it allows you to get more real more quickly. So just some general thoughts about mission and vision and beliefs. These are your guiding principles. These are what everything else should flow from. When we start talking about strategic initiatives to address certain challenges and opportunities in the district next week, we're always going to come back and say, all right, that's a great opportunity. That's a great way to respond to a challenge. How does that connect with the district's mission? How does that connect with why this district exists? And we're always going to be seeing those connections. That's why wherever you walk around one of the schools, you're going to see the school's mission and its values and beliefs, just to keep reminding everyone that this is why we're all here together. This is our common journey together. And that's what a mission and values try to do, is establish that commonality amongst all of us. So think about in your mind now, and you're going to start writing this down in just a few minutes. Why does the district exist? What's it supposed to be doing? What do we aspire for our students? Are there core beliefs that we want incorporated into this mission or the belief statement? What's your dream for the district's future? And start thinking that through, and things will start popping out for you. Thanks. We often see the vision and mission statement combined together. Although they're distinct, they really do flow together. And so we'll see most school districts have a mission statement that includes a vision, which is that very short phrase regarding what the dream is. And we see Middletown's current mission, you'll see this. What's that dream for your student, for your own child? It needs to be an aspiration that is widely shared, and that's why we're all here together around these white sheets of paper, because we want this to be a shared aspiration. It needs to be broad enough that everyone at your table, hopefully you have people from lots of different perspectives at your table. Everyone at your table should be able to embrace. It should be easy to understand and communicate. And then, next. This is how simple and easy it should be. We want all children to receive a good education, successful when they leave the schools. Every child should be comfortable in their schools. So those are very broad vision statements. And then the mission is just the how we accomplish that, the what's and the whys, the nuts and bolts, a little more action-oriented, less dreaming and more action is what I always call the difference between the vision and the mission. But again, it has to be concise, it has to be inclusive, so everyone around your table should be able to agree to it. It should be outcome oriented. Sample mission statements, here we are, to promote child health, create thriving minority communities, develop a safe and healthy school environment. Values and beliefs are different. They're normally set forth in a different statement. Middletown has a belief statement, which we'll look at in a second. What are the convictions of your group? Every child can learn, for example. What's the non-negotiable in your group? And so we'll now take a look at the Middletown District. You mind reader states, just a mind reader. So read it along with me. This is the current statement. It combines aspirational goals and action-oriented, aspiring vision and action-oriented mission together. So I'll read it. Middletown Township Public School District, in partnership with our resourceful and historically rich community, provides students with a rigorous and relevant education rooted in New Jersey student learning standards, motivating them to recognize and develop their full potential as responsible citizens, contributing to an ever-evolving global society. So we're going to ask you and your group to look at this statement. I'm just going to roll through the beliefs in a second, and then I'm going to turn the slides back so you have this on the screen to refer to. Belief statement. We believe we must function as a united community to meet every student's unique and individual needs in a safe and nurturing educational environment. prepare students for innovative opportunities in a rapidly evolving global society in which technology is integral, inspire, engage, and challenge students and staff to make the commitment to become lifelong learners, both within and beyond the classroom walls. Fourth, provide all students equitable opportunities for personal development, maintaining progressive resources, and support the success of our children who are our future. So those are the district's current mission and beliefs, and the goal for your groups now is to review. Let's start with the mission. Let's keep this to around 10 minutes. And all I want you to think about is what's missing? What doesn't have to be here anymore? This is separated by 5 or 6 years. So think about those two questions right now. What's missing? What shouldn't be there anymore? And then what should be there? Again, this is a aspiration, and so let's think about it that way. So why don't you turn around to your groups and start talking about that, because again, any mission and vision and belief system must be commonly shared, which means hopefully everyone at your group can see the same pathway forward. Okay, ready? 10 minutes. We'll remind you at 8. We'll be wandering around if you have questions.
2. Where's group 2? All right, group 2 concurs with group 1. Very good, I guess. Group 3, who wants to report out for group 3? Who wants to report out? Okay. Very good.
We talked about social emotional learning, meeting the needs of all students, having equity, not equality of our schools, evidence-based and developmentally appropriate learning, and having happy, healthy, empathetic, productive students.
Okay, I think the safety might be best with the belief, so we're just going to hang that comment until then. To what extent do you think the New Jersey learning standards capture those first 2 comments, or do they need to be called out specially? Okay, perfect, thanks. 4, group 4.
There you go. Really close.
All right, so we shortened our mission statement to say Middletown Township Public School District offers an environment for learning and guidance that is inclusive, accepting, and tolerant to differences.
That was group 4. Awesome, thanks.
Little slower when you're speaking, if you can.
Group 5. Who's group 5? We have group 5 and group 6 at this table, so who was 5 and who was 6? Do you remember? Well, Lynn, could you just point to group 5? No, I'm not on the board there. Who wrote that one there? Green. Green marker. Group 5.
Well, we're at 5.
In any event, who wants to report out for this group? We'll figure out which group you are in a second. The first one, Lynn, is, okay, perfect. Lynn, the first one.
Just one.
No, hold on.
On the brown board?
That's 12.
Wait, that's,
That one is
right, what group?
12.
No, right.
We have 8, 9, 10, 11.
I'm not going to hold this up here. I'm just going to let you report out briefly. What did you say?
Is that 5? We've got, it's a no number, but it's a number. 5. Okay?
All right, just put 6 on there. You are now 6, group 6. You're now group 5. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. You can just summarize what's on there. If you need to go up and look at it, that's fine too.
What we focused on was adding up.
Really close.
environment, which includes anti-bullying, lockdown, and making sure we have inclusion. We focused on equity across the district, better partnership with the town, ensuring mental health is a priority, making sure kids are available to learn every day, including the New Jersey standards and preparing students for their future, both academically and for a career life readiness. We also suggested maybe taking out the term resourceful and historically rich community. We didn't really know exactly what that meant in the mission statement.
Okay, this group report out, or report out? Well, do you have any comments? Sorry.
I think we just didn't want to lose sight of neighborhood schools and family involvement in our schools, as well as meeting learning standards and fiscal responsibility.
Yep. I get with your point, absolutely. So, group 7.
We focus on the idea of safety and making sure that we have comfortable class settings and an overall school environment. The idea of having pride in the education that's provided for our students, personalizing learning and fostering independence for our students as they develop, and differentiating instruction to meet needs of all students, focusing on academic and mental health.
Group 8. Group 8. Okay, thanks.
We just updated the wording a little bit. We wanted to change it to the highest standard of learning as opposed to NJSLA, because how do we know that New Jersey has the highest standard? Then for the last line, we changed it to motivating them to develop camaraderie within our local community, develop their full potential as responsible citizens, contributing to all levels of society, from our local schools all and up to a global scale.
Thank you. Group 8.
No, we were 8.
Group 9.
We were 8.
Yes. Just confused. Sorry. We're now group 9. 3. There you go. We're very close.
Okay. We were group 9. We thought of it as, what do we want our kids to graduate from this school district with? So we kind of phrased it in the form of bullets, but we want all of our children to attain the foundation needed to feel confident and capable to succeed at college, career, and beyond. We want all of our children to become contributing global citizens. We want all of our children to feel safe, valued, and included while in the Middletown school community. And we want all of our children to feel as if they are part of one historically rich community. The one thing we specifically thought could be taken out was the New Jersey Student Learning Standards reference.
Okay, actually we're starting to get some commonalities here. So believe it or not, with a group of 100, it's difficult to start surfacing, but I'm seeing commonalities, so I think we're good. Group 10.
How you doing? We are group 10. We thought possible deletions would be historically rich, NJSLS, and the term rigorous. Possible additions to provide opportunities to reach above the standards, develop imagination and creativity, aspire to greatness, and deliver a student prepared for a successful adult life.
Excellent. Group 11. Love efficiency, right?
So we had a lot of discussion around linguistics, so this is hardly done. We thought we needed a lot more minutes. But some of the things we came up around rigorous were safe, supported. We had a big discussion on inclusive, what the definition of inclusive means, who falls under it. And then in relationship to personalized learning, we found that the wording was highly academic and maybe was missing that social emotional piece. Also, not representing a lot of the work the district has done around being kind and compassionate and the importance of that being a productive citizen. We discussed what ever global society meant, which kind of led us to the discussion of career readiness. and that the statistics showed that there is an interest in really focusing on the trades, and that does not seem to be reflected in the statement.
Thank you. Clearly, Group 11, you could have written a lot more on this topic. Group, last but not least, Group 12.
So we talked about a lot of the same things that the other groups did, and one of the things that stuck, I guess, hit us right away was the historically rich community. And I think when you were asking us what we wanted to be known as, Middletown does have this historically rich community in terms of, going back to colonial times, looking at where we're situated. And I can remember when the group that originally wrote this, and fast forward 20 years from now, there'll be another group sitting here that'll be like, what are they talking about? I think that's what makes the process so meaningful. But I do think you need to say that this is a historically rich community. We also felt that the social emotional learning pieces were missing. And we felt that in terms of looking at responsible citizens, what does that mean? Does that mean you take out the garbage, you pay your taxes? Like, what does that mean? We want people who are empowered and empathetic global citizens. And, am I forgetting anything here? Cindy, you want to say anything?
No, you said we wanted to leave out the standards that given more rigorous and relevant education, and we also said something about a sense of belonging, and that each would meet their greatest potential to be empowered global citizens.
And empathetic.
Okay, so I think we were able to surface a number of commonalities, and we'll just take a moment or two, because what we're going to do is organize all of your input and feedback there, and bring it back to you at Forum 3, because we have 12 groups, but just looking at your comments and looking at the mission statement, a number of places we're looking at modifying some words on the resourceful, historically rich community, redefining what the standard of excellence is for the district, and also redefining that end outcome for our students after they graduate, in terms perhaps of defining a little more clearly, preparing for careers, preparing for college, what is a responsibility of citizens, providing a little more definition there as well. This is a mission statement that is the normal length. It's one paragraph long, but doesn't mean it can't be a little longer to define better those few thoughts. Some of the groups wanted to add language about inclusion and supportive environment for students, and so didn't really sounds that is something we want to talk about a little bit now before we move to the beliefs, because I think that is something that we're not seeing here. And how important is that? Some of the groups indicated that was very important. I don't know if the other groups just didn't flag that, assumed that it was there, wanted to focus on the belief system and include it there. So before we move on, some of the groups that didn't hit on that inclusive and supportive environment, should it be here? Should it be in the beliefs? Should it not be at all? Any thoughts on that? Should be in the core values. Say, core value mean the beliefs. Okay, we have one group who thinks it should be in the beliefs. Yes?
Yeah, I think it's critical for it to be in the mission statement, just because if a child belongs in the community, then they're going to thrive and do well. And I think it emphasizes that we are welcoming one community. So I think that's a core value that should be here. So I almost think it's critical to being able to educate and then afterwards become a productive citizen.
Okay, could each group just take 10 seconds and just, does it belong in either the mission or the beliefs? And if so, which one? Just 10 seconds, because this is actually, I think, an important one. We're going to go right up through here. Okay, what do we think? For the inclusive environment should be there, and so mission for beliefs, or no opinion. Okay, so a number of the groups indicated that as part of the mission of the school, it should be providing a supportive and inclusive environment for students. And the question that I'm asking the groups, do you agree with that? And if so, do you believe that it should be in the mission or it should be in your beliefs? Right now it's alluded to in the beliefs, but it looks like some of the groups want that to be more direct. And I'm just asking for some sense of the room. I know this is tough because we're such a big crowd, but just trying to get that sense from you so we have an ability to bring back to you at Forum 3 some tightening of the language. Correct. In the beliefs. Yes, it should be in the beliefs. What do you think? Yes, it should be mission. 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 Yes? Somewhere. Mission or so far mission is carrying the day here. Mission. That beliefs, but either way is okay with you, all right? So we have a couple of ties. Mission, mission. Okay. Last question before we head to the beliefs, and that's a few groups indicated that the word rich was problematic here. Historically rich community. Are you uncomfortable with the word rich? Comfortable with the historical traditions of the community being cited here, or neither one? That is not an important part of a mission statement. Again, a few seconds on that. We'll go around. Okay, so any thoughts on that? Historically rich, is it a tradition that we're going to talk about in different languages, something we don't want to talk about at all? It's fine the way it is. Any thoughts? Okay, one vote for not necessary words. Any thoughts on that? Doesn't, again, drop, not necessary for mission statement. Another. Okay, historically significant. So far we're running 3, take it out. It's not necessary. 1, reword it. It is necessary. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Okay, historically, tradition should be cited, so we're 3-2 here. Any thoughts on this? We have 3 groups who think the words historically rich community should be taken out of the schools. 2 believe it should stay in, but 3 work to not. Okay, and we have a you go either way. All right,
so we're divided. The people who grew up here want the historically rich. The people who are diverse, we want to add it. And the people who didn't grow up here like I don't
All right, it looks like we're kind of equipoise on this. We're at 3-3. Right, we're tied on this one. Any group who hasn't reported out want to weigh in and break the tie? So we're now, it should be somewhere, I think, so we have a movement. So the mission. All right, last comments on this.
So, just a general comment with this activity. It seems like, from what I understand from Forum 1, there was so much information that came out, data and thoughts. I feel like after going through this, it's almost like a disjointed activity. We're not pulling through all the things that we learned in Forum 1 into Forum 2 to really tie in all the things. So, just a comment.
Yeah, the developing the mission is always the most ambiguous of the tasks, by the way. There's no real ability to connect this back as solidly as when we get into the strategies and priorities and goals, especially with a big group. But it is an important part of looking at this mission statement and answering the question, does this reflect who you believe this district mission should be? It is a difficult concept, as I alluded to at the beginning, but it's also an important part of strategic planning to discuss, does this represent your thoughts? And we're going to turn next to the beliefs. Does that represent your thoughts? Certainly when we get to the strategies, everyone's going to get a lot more comfortable with the work being done because it connects a lot more directly with data. But you still have to look at these mission and belief statements because we're going to be constantly coming back to this essence of what you believe your district should be doing and accomplishing. So I think we have enough on your thoughts on the mission. We have the charts. We'll take a look at those. Let's just take a quick look at the beliefs. And the same question to you with the belief system is, do you think anything's missing here? Do you think anything should be added? And then we're going to move on to the next task here. Now, this is always the most difficult part of the process, looking at the mission and values of any organization. Strategic planning is always the most difficult. This is why I never do this to begin our discussions. I never do this in Forum 1 because no one ever comes back to Forum 2, and we don't want that. We want to hear from you, so we decided to do this part in Forum 2 after we've received all that input in the first 3 forums, because this is difficult. You know, every school has a mission and belief statement, the district has one, and what we're trying to do is just to understand, can we use the current mission and belief statements to stage our strategic plan off of, or does something have to change? And that was what we tried to accomplish tonight. It's a big group, and it's very difficult to have really granular conversations with a group this big, and that's why we wanted to phrase this as, what would you add, what would you subtract, what would you do differently with these belief statements. So I'm going to roll through this very quickly. Group 3, beliefs are good. Are they being implemented was the question there. What does maintaining progressive resources means? That's a good question, which we'll get the answer to. Adapt curriculum based on evolving evidence, changing needs, which could be added, right, absolutely. And technology shouldn't be in the belief system. Group 2 is good with the beliefs up there. Group number 8 wants to add the word potential, prepare productive members of society, creative, fun should be added, life skills should be added. 5 is okay, allow teachers creative freedom with support from the district. As a number 6, that would be a new number 6, allow teachers creative freedom. 7, add social and emotional learning, and 2 and 4 can be combined. 2 and 4 can be combined, was group 7. Group number 9, add and change. The abilities to succeed exist within every child. As a number 1, I'm not sure what that number is. Anyone in group 9, could you, what's this? Children?
The second point we felt should be added, the teachers.
Oh, thank you. Got it. We should add, teachers and families need to be equipped to help each child reach and find their potential. Should be added to number 2.
It was kind of just added in general.
Okay, add between 1 and 2. Remove bullet point number 2, number 4, and bullet point number 5.
Kind of just felt like they were all kind of.
So you want those merged together?
As they could be, the way they were written.
So they should be merged, or?
Well, I don't know, I think if we were to rewrite the whole thing, it wasn't just going through one at a time and evaluating it. If we were to think about our belief system in general, we would add kind of those first 2 that we thought were kind of into that here but not covered. And then maybe just delete some of the ones that are up there to simplify it.
Okay.
So kind of start over.
And reorganize and reprioritize. Having some more thoughts on that at some point might be helpful, if you could, as we report out the rest. Number 10, too wordy and not memorable, which I guess gets that communication issue. You want this to be easily communicated and understood. This is still group 10, single words with explanations, branded, should be put in every school. Excellence, inspire, communicate, inclusive, and community. Oh, that's interesting. That's what you're getting there. And then define each one. Inspire means engage and challenge students and staff. Standards of excellence would be exceed the expectations, those global high-quality expectations that we discussed in the mission. Communication, develop writing and reading and technology skills, develop, that was work in progress. Yeah, I need to develop, and anyone in group 10, develop fundamentals. Fundamentals, thank you. I get it now, I just couldn't read fundamentals. Prior to technology. Inclusive, all children would be provided a safe environment, and community partnerships with parents. That's actually very, very, very thoughtful. Group 11, social, emotional, academic needs. Family, students, staff would be in addition to number 3. Missing an academic focus in number 4. And that's group 11. And then group 12, empathetic and self-motivated, embracing diversity, creating belonging and community connectedness, which is not there. Encourage explorations to discover strengths and passions, almost a career exploration piece in the values. Any thoughts? Anything that really was driving any of the groups on the beliefs that are there or should be there?
Actually, not really speaking to our group, but I really like the way number 10 did that, with doing the different words and everything. And I feel like that touched on a lot of the things that we wanted to include in that belief system. So.
Yeah, I'm going to actually reread that because I thought it was very interesting. So someone else had a thought?
Yeah, I just think that people should be able to remember at least 3 of the 5 items. So that's why I thought the bullet points would help, and then there would be an explanation underneath.
Yeah, we'll get this onto the website before Forum 3 so folks can look at it. But again, with the theme being communication and being able to remember it, what they wanted to do was to have one word symbolize one specific value, and then have a phrase to explain each one of those words. So it would begin with excellence, and then inspire, and then communicate, and inclusive, and community. Excellence, inspire, communicate, inclusive, and community. And then there's a phrase after each one. Any thoughts on that? It overlaps quite well with a number of the other groups, but give some thoughts on whether that's a good format have to pursue?
Can I ask a more general question? Does the district change their mission statement every 5 years?
With every strategic plan, the mission and the beliefs get revisited.
Doesn't that seem like a school district that you want to have a steady as she goes kind of approach? Changing every 5 years seems to be a lot of things going in different directions. Looking at continuity with the kids.
Well, then I think you could definitely say, yep, let's stick with what we have for continuity purposes, but that's...
Continuity purposes, but I mean that's an overall goal for the district. You change your thinking every 5 years, you kind of go in different directions. Every 5 years, it's all on the group that's here today. Rather than having steady morals, not to get religious, but like golden rule. There are certain things that everybody can agree upon. We just have some basic things in here that everybody agrees upon. We can move on to bigger issues and problems that I think everybody here in this room wants to deal with, rather than discussing the mission statement and the core boundaries for everybody.
Strategic planning process. This is where you start. You have to gut check the mission and the beliefs, or it's very difficult to make certain that those goals and strategies do relate back over time. So you do have to spend some time on this. I know this is not the most enjoyable work, but it is necessary work, and we want your input on this. And I think we have a fair degree of input. So going back to Group 10's work, any other groups' thoughts on that? Again, we'll put this onto the website. We'll revisit this at Forum 3. Yes?
I was just going to say, as a parent in the district, I knew what the mission statement was, and I've read it multiple times on agendas, etc. And this is the first time I've ever seen the beliefs. So I think if the beliefs are meant to be an important part of what we're all buying into, it needs to be included kind of with the mission statement and all of the stuff that goes out. Otherwise, we should just have a mission statement and have that encompass everything. Agreed.
Yeah, we actually might have covered it up, but there's actually a high school South mission and belief system right up there. The mission and the beliefs. So that's the way you want the districts to appear, which I think is good. We believe. All right, so we're going to produce all this. It'll be on the website. We'll revisit it at Forum 3. And so let's turn to the last item tonight. This is going to set the stage for our identifying strategic initiatives in Forum 3. So Forum 3 is going to be, what are those strategic directions that we want the district to take in the next 5 years to accomplish this mission and these beliefs? Normally 6 to 10 is what we're looking for, but in order to bridge to Forum 3, the question I have for your groups is, think about the mission and the beliefs that we just discussed. Think about the testimony we received in Forum 1 and surveys, and prioritize for us the 3 highest goals that you think this district should be achieving. So we heard a lot about class sizes and inclusion and dealing with revenue losses and enrollment losses. We heard a lot about the quality of teaching. So what do you think in your group are those 3 highest priorities that we're then going to take and blow out into more specific objectives and goals next week? So what are your 3 highest priorities? Understanding all of the testimony we received, understanding the survey data, and what, it's not happening. We're talking too much tonight. So that is what I'd like your groups to focus on now. What are those 3 really high-level principles or goals that you heard from the forums are important in your group that you think we should be pursuing in Forum 3 and blowing out into those 10 more specific objectives? Okay? So we're looking at the highest level priorities and based on, we now have some clear ideas from you where we need to spend our time at Forum 3, get more granular, get more specific regarding these goals. So what we're trying to do is just set that framework for Forum 3 so we get here and we can launch right into what those strategic goals should be and what we can add granular to that, so we all understand exactly what you want to accomplish. The outcome for Forum 3 is to have 6 to 10 very discrete, very clear goals, objectives, strategies. So this helps us bridge to that Forum 3 by making certain we arrive with this sense of what our chief objectives are. So that was the goal. You all did a great job of this, and it's going to go through these quickly. We're going to tabulate it and have it for you to begin Forum 3. So we really have that bridge between these two forums. Group 2 had 3 present strategic plans, inclusive of but not limited to redistricting, maintain low to average class sizes, prudent financial stewardship of all district resources. Group 3, focus on class sizes, keeping neighborhood schools, meeting the needs of all students while maintaining a sense of community. Very directly tied back to that mission and belief statement. Group 1, maximize student potential, become responsible, productive members of society, safe, inclusive, and nurturing environment. Academic preparedness, including communication, problem solving, and critical thinking skills, again, very closely tied to our mission. Group 5, class size, and focusing on future enrollment implications for class sizes, maintaining neighborhood schools, focusing on social well-being of students, safety and bullying, and inclusion in our classrooms. Is this, we have 2 number 5s. Have I reached some intergalactic?
That's 4.
This is 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Not shuffling students around, maintaining neighborhood schools, special education, programs for dyslexia, stigma versus perception versus reality. Could someone from Group 4 just maybe add something to that last one? I'm not really sure what that is, so we make certain we capture that. Group 6, enrollment challenges should not include redistricting roads as fluctuations happen across all schools, and this is not a feasible solution. Lack of working relationships between board and town committee regarding especially new development planning. Fiscal responsibility, top-heavy central office, lighter school administration. Group 7, focus on class sizes, transparency, and budgetary issues. Group 8, class and attendance zones, state funding issues, life skills, all certainly amenable to developing more specific strategies in Forum 3. Group 10, I guess we're reading up this way. Class size while maintaining a close community feel that fosters growth on a personal and academic level. Reorganize boundaries to provide optimal enrollment, school boundaries to optimize enrollment. Balance screen time with traditional learning methods. Increase physical activity. Generate revenue outside of taxes. A couple of ideas: corporate sponsorships, building recreational facilities like swimming pool, indoor turf facility to host, rent out to teams and other organizations. I think a number of larger districts actually do that, Tom's River being one of them. Priorities for number 9, Group 9, get class sizes down so students are better supported, teachers are set up to succeed, promote differentiated instruction for all students in an inclusive environment, teach student fundamentals and life skills. I think very similar to a couple of our other groups: typing, coping, stress management, active listening, less screen time, examples of those life skills. Group 11, budget, fiscal responsibility, coming while providing appropriate programs, classes, and facilities. Second issue, third issue, special education to be future ready, classification and funding issues. As classification goes up, there will be more demands on funding, which I think that formula reads. Number 12, group 12, social issues, mental health issues, so students are ready to learn. Class size, issue 2, issue 3, inclusion, personalized learning. I think all of these goals, all 12 groups, we can get more granular on, identify very strategic objectives to accomplish those. That's forum 3. If there's any items here that you want to expand on, we'll leave these up for a few minutes. If you have any questions for us, we'll remain here. Again, I think we now have a solid bridge to Forum 3, and I'm going to turn this back over to our board, who will close us out tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Espy. Appreciate that. So tonight, I know folks, as we went through the process, we're asking, well, why are we spending time on the mission statement, belief system, to roll into some of the things we really want to talk about? But we have survey results as well, where folks wrote a lot of open-ended comments, very, very detailed, very good. And the point being is some of these priorities that we have, when you write them and you think about them, we should also look at the fact that, does it fit into what the belief system that we wrote here? Like, for example, we have, if you look at the last go around, some of it's a little generic, some of that stuff will be. But the idea being, with the challenges that we face, what are the things that we hold on to that we want? Some folks mentioned here in neighborhood schools. We keep seeing a lot of people talk about, we're one district. But what does that mean? Is that a belief that we have? Are these things that we, no matter what state funding we lose, what's going on in our society or how things are going, what things are we going to hold on to as we think about the priorities? So we have a lot of good ideas here. And as Dr. Hespy mentioned, we also have a lot of, I think it's 10,000, 10,000 open-ended comments, which are very similar to these. And you can see trends, 10 to 12 different trends coming out. And the next meeting in December, we're going to see a lot of, I think, what some of the folks, or I think the gentleman over here was asking about some of the issues that we want to discuss. We just have to take one step at a time, because as you see, the mission statements get very vague. And as you start drilling down into, you're trying to figure out, how do I accomplish that, right? It's a goal. So we appreciate as a community, everyone's time for filling out the survey, for coming to this meeting. So don't be discouraged. We're going to get into this process. And December is just going to be the third step in the forums. But this process is probably going to go on to mid next year. Because once we come up with the, say, 10 priorities, we're going to have to figure out, how the heck are we going to do that? Because honestly, you see sometimes you see comments saying, hey, I want X, but I don't want to do Y. And then you say, well, hold it. How can we do both of those things? So then it comes down to, what's our belief system, right? How do we prioritize? Which things we want? So I know it seems kind of, at times, kind of like a little drudgery, but I mean, these are really important things. And because when you come back to it and we go through this stuff next in December, which I hope you'll all go back and we have more people as well, you're going to say to yourself, well, hold it, does that really fit into what we want to do here? So again, we appreciate it. Keep the momentum going. I know it can be a little bit, Dr. Hespy do a great job, but it can be sometimes a little bit monotonous, but there will be, at the end of this, we're going to have to make decisions, right? I think you've seen some of the decks. I know that we don't have a lot of time to go through the data, but it's on the website. So please, look at that information. We have now by school, on elementary level. I don't think we have secondary level, actually. Cost by school. We have enrollment information. We have various pieces. And please send emails to us, right? Feel free to send emails to Schoolhouse, send it to myself, send it to the board members. We also have strategic planning at MiddletownK12.org. Please send emails there, right? Ideas. Plus, after tonight, if you have other ideas about things, or even if you have comments about what you feel about how this went, and suggestions for the next meeting, please do that. And again, I appreciate it from the board, from the administration, from the community. Thank you very much for coming tonight. And please keep the momentum going, yes.
Are you guys planning on there being more community input beyond Forum 3?
Right now, we've only thought through Forum 3 to think what the prioritization is going to be. The next step is, once we agree upon what we want to achieve, then we have to design action plans. So where that point turns over, I don't know if we've gotten that far yet in terms of how, on the execution.
We have our strategic planning committee here. There's the board members, the administration, and Schoolhouse strategies. So we'll basically take it from there. But these are, all the actions that we take going forward will be discussed at board meetings. So if you come to the board meeting and you comment, we're going to hear that. And it's not going to be a surprise. It's going to absolutely fall into line with what you're going to see at Forum 3, because that's where we're making our decisions from, right? The information that we're getting from the public. But yeah, as far as voting on something, it will be the 9 board members who vote at the end.
Yeah, I think in terms of how that process works, to answer your question, I think it depends what our priorities are, right? The board has gone from the whole board to committee structure again. So for example, if we have a goal that is finance facilities related, we have a committee for that. So we have to figure out, okay, this is what the public, this is what came out of the process, what needs to be done here. Is there something that requires more community, or is there something that is very clear that the administration and the board have to do X? So okay, it's pretty clear what we need to do. I think we have to figure out what those 10 things are. And honestly, I think there's going to be different approaches for whatever the priority is. Does that make sense? I think once we see those, I think some will be a little more obvious than others.
So is there a possibility then that we can be involved in the action plan or whatever the district decides?
I think we need to figure out what those items are, though. In terms of, yeah, the next form, I think once we figure out what it is that it's the 6 to 10 items, I think we need to figure out what would it take to accomplish that. Is it something that's kind of straightforward, or is it something that needs further sort of nuance? Does that make sense? Because we don't really have anything in mind. We're just seeing what the community is saying. So I don't know what's going to come out. Yeah, I mean, I think we are. The board we're elected by you folks, and we have workshops and committees to figure out what that is. So if we come here next month and say, listen, we think this is something that needs to be worked out by a group, it'll be something we'll have to consider. We just will have to consider that and discuss it. Does that make sense?
I know one of the big issues that obviously is bubbled up, and I assume will be one of the goals, is getting class sizes managed in some way, both down and balanced. And there are many ways to skin that cat. I mean, redistricting, you could build onto schools, you could ban, you could close schools, there's a million ways to do it. And I guess I just want to have some understanding of what the process will be, to say, we evaluated these 10 ways to do it, here's what they would have cost, here's how many kids would have been impacted, here's all of the kind of parameters to determine what we do, and that there's some mechanism for us to see all the options and why we are being led in one direction versus another. I just don't want it to be like we said the goal is to get class sizes down, and then the next thing we hear is we're going to do it this way, and not look at the kind of menu of what was discussed and why it ranks the way it did.
I think it's a good point. I think we need to figure out where there's appetite and non-appetite. Some things take more time than others to figure out. So if you say like for example, some of the items that you mentioned there are pretty involved, right? So you can't look at all 6 of those options because some of them would take us 5 years to figure out how to do it, right? So which ones will we have interest in looking at, right? So I know what you're saying is you want all the information to make a decision, but you also have to make a decision before you go down the path because it takes time and resources to figure some of those things out. They're complicated questions, right? We've done this, 5 years ago, and they're not easy questions of how do you approach it. And if the public says they want this, and the item is a little bit more complicated, that there's various ways we can do it. Maybe in the next meeting, where there's a way we can figure out, does the public want multiple options? Like, how many options do they think are reasonable? Are there things that maybe, we'll just make this up, the administration can say, listen, that path won't work because of X. In other words, they could just say, so maybe, I know what you're saying, it's sort of part course, like which one do we do first? I think we need to see what comes out next month. I think that's why.
No, I just want to give an example. So in Forum 1, a lot of people were saying that they weren't happy with the data that we currently have. And then from that, Schoolhouse Strategies encouraged us to perhaps entertain the idea of a demographic study, another demographic study, or a transportation audit. So then the board would take that and discuss amongst ourselves, is that something that we could do? And then we'd have to vote on it, something like that, say, in public in front of you guys at a meeting. And it would be on the agenda and you could come speak. So that's kind of an example of how the process will work going forward.
And I will say that at some point, right, the room gets smaller. It just does, right? It's going to come down to the board because at some point, you get 50, 100 people, you lose the span of control of how you make a decision, right? So at some point, it's going to come to the board. Something's going to come to the board, right? And over time, something's going to happen, right? Because we're going to have to make up, you look at the 5-year projections, I know it's not an accurate science, but that doesn't even include any capital, money being invested in our building. So to answer your question is that at some point the room's going to get smaller. The question is when, because we can't just have a group of people. Because it's also too, for example, when you create some of these ad hoc committees and whatnot, you don't get the same personnel every single time, right? And then people want to know, well, I didn't know about it, or I wasn't invited, and it gets tricky. And you start spinning around. So I think that you're making very good points. At what point does this transfer over, and how do we say the public can still have input if they think the process is going away from what they thought? Because it's not intentional all the time, right? Because you talk in rooms and things go around and you come to a point, and say, oh, I think we're in the right spot. But then you go back and say, well, hold it. Let's go back to the beginning again. Does this fit into what we just said our rules?
I guess I just ask that when it gets to the point where you're looking at a set of options and narrowing it down, say this is the one that the board and the administration think we should go with, that we as members of the public get to hear the rationale as to what else is considered and why it didn't bubble up to the top. Because I think there are a lot of ideas and everybody has opinions right now based on what they think they know. We don't have all the data, obviously. I think if we just, and for us to buy into any ultimate decision, we need to know how we got there. And I think that may have been missing in the past. So that's all I'm asking is that.
That's fair.
We can be involved as much as we can. I'm sure there are many people here who want to be. And if we can't, when it gets to that point, we have to narrow it down, that there's a real open communication about, we evaluated this and here's why we thought it wouldn't work. We evaluated this and this is what the numbers showed us. So that we really can feel confident in the path.
So you're saying when that transition point happens, there's still about, okay, this group is working on it, and like, for example, in a workshop meeting, someone says, this is what we just looked at, and this is what we're doing, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I think, I acknowledge at board ed meetings it will all be discussed, and I know many of us go there, but many don't. So just making sure that discussion is somehow more publicized to the population so that people really know, here's where we are in the process, and it's not as we go, okay, we're implementing it tonight, we're voting, and people are like, wait, I didn't know about the other options that were shut down.
Right.
That there's some communication about it.
We can discuss some of that.
Already Forum 3, we can discuss different options and the good and the bad and what members of the community think, how would the community would benefit from an idea and what would be detrimental to the community if we picked said idea. I think that we can start talking about that stuff in Forum 3. I'm ready for the good and the bad and the ugly. I think John is, I think we all are. And I think that it's healthy to have that discussion with you all because we really do want it to come from the community. We don't want to drive it, so that's important to us. All right, thank you all so much for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for your patience. Please come back December 11th. High School North.